Hello everyone, this is Rashmi and today's class is pre-calculus and we are going to learn about the function and some change in attributes. So first topic is function. What do you mean by function and how we test that? As in 7th grade you learn vertical line test, means x cannot repeat and y can repeat. Output can be same but input has to be individual. So some of the restrictions are also there for the domain. You know how to read the graph with my previous videos. You can check how to read the graph from left you go towards your right to see the domain, and from your bottom down and then you will go up to see the range. So this is how you are going to look for the domain in the range. But what are the restrictions? We are going to see that. And we are also going to talk about the parent functions and how it affects the equation. So let's see first equation. What do you mean by this sign? This sign means absolute value. Absolute value means you are only considering positive value. But that means that x can be positive, x can be negative. But we only take positive value. That's what it means. It does not mean that it doesn't have negative values. So there is a difference. For example, especially when you go statistic with the data, and you are looking for standard mean deviation, or sometimes MAD, mean average deviation from the mean, you don't want to consider the negative values. So many times it happens that you just want to take the number which is positive. If you are for example, there are 10 people and you want to take the average or the mean or deviation from 11. So 11 minus 10 is 1, but 10 minus 11 is negative 1, but people cannot be negative. So that's how we are talking about this. Sometimes you don't want negative values, so you only want to consider positive value. That's what absolute value means. But then what restriction we have? As I said, that means you have plus x and minus x. So this is what absolute value means. And what is the equation when you are writing it in the form of algebraic expression? Y is equal to a, absolute value of x minus h plus k. So this y is equal to absolute value of x, where x can be positive or negative, is your parent function. And then after transformation, it can stretch, it can compress, it can have it move to left, right, up or down. That is called transformation. So this is somewhere we are going to talk about this parent function and transformation afterward. But for example, here x, and then you want to have absolute value of x, which is right now y. So if you have minus 1, 0, 1, so absolute value will be 1, 0, 1. You are only considering your positive value. So if you draw the graph, it's mostly is in that V shape. Absolute value graph will be mostly in V shape. We can also call it piecewise function, where you take positive and your x can be your negative, but the output is positive. X can be positive and output is still positive. So then this kind of parent function you will get. Now this time we are going to talk about the domain restrictions. What all domain restriction we can have. So domain is, as we said, that it has to be unique, cannot repeat. But for example, we have something like 3t square over t square minus 1. If you see this equation and I ask you for the domain for this particular equation, the first thing is what restriction it has to follow. So as I said that in fraction, we have the divisor divided, we have a dividend divided by a divisor. The answer is quotient and the remaining is remainder, right? But then what kind of divisor we should have? We cannot have 0, because any number divided by 0 is undefined. So we really don't want 0. So this is one of the restriction we have for any equation like where we have the fraction. So this is fraction, so we cannot have t square minus 1 as equal to 0. That means t square, add plus 1 both the side to solve it, and t square is equal to 1, or t is equal to plus and minus 1. Here the restriction is that t cannot be positive 1 or negative 1. So this is the restriction this equation has to follow. Other than that, we can have all real values. So these are the restriction we are going to see in some more example. As I said, that absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 5 is one of the equation we have. Now we have to see what restriction we can have in this particular equation. So whenever you have absolute value, that means it has positive value as well as it still have negative value. So that means x plus 3 can be 5, or minus x plus 3 can be equal to 5, right? So here remove this 3 from here and you get x is equal to 5 minus 3, that is 2, right? And here negative x, negative 3 equal to 5 plus 3 both the side. So negative x is equal to 8, or x is equal to negative 8. So these are the two values that x can have for this particular equation, right? So these are the restriction for absolute value. And let's talk about the equation in algebraic form where there is a transformation just only for absolute value. So as we see that fruit of the plant will not fall much far from the plant itself, or we can say that kids mostly look like their parents. They have some of the traits what already parents have. For example, if you see, human kids will look different than animal kids, right? So that's how I'm talking about, that they will follow their parents' trend. So here, first equation we are talking about, absolute value of x is equal to y. That means if we see the chart or graph, it is minus 2. So x value here minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1 and 2. So y will be 2, 1, 0, 1 and 2. This is the graph of our absolute value, just absolute value of x, right? And here if you see here, if you go minus 2, that is minus 2, then y is 2. Sorry, minus 2, then y is 2, minus 1, then y is 1, 0, 0, 1 and 2. So as you can see that it's a V shape. Now this V shape is the parent one. Now after transformation, still it will look like a V shape, but it can have be little narrower, or it can be little wider. It can be anywhere in the graph, but it will look like a V shape. That is what we are talking about, that it will look like a parent. So how the transformation is happening, this we have to see with the equation. So f of x, or you can say y, is equal to a, absolute value of x minus h plus k. Now this is the equation we have to follow, not only for this, for quadratic again it will be y is equal to a bracket x minus h whole square plus k. For cube it will be whole cube plus k. So nothing is changing. For square root it will be a square root sign for x minus h. So what does it mean? This a, and we can have 1 over b here and a bracket here. So we can have that too. What do you mean by A here? A is your vertical stretch or compression. If it is more than 1, it is vertical stretch, and if it is less than 1, it will be a compression. What about B? B represent your horizontal stretch and compression. H is your horizontal shift, left or right, and K is your vertical shift, up or down. That means if H is positive, you'll go towards your right. If H is negative, you go towards your left. But when it is in this bracket, you can see that it is x minus H. That means if it is given x minus 2 in this bracket like this, and you have half here and then plus 3 and 2 here. Just for example, if you look for this one, whether it will go plus or minus and 1 over 2 inside the bracket, does it mean different than the 2 outside? Yes, absolutely. So this A represent your change in Y, your K represent change in your Y, but your this 1 over B x minus H represent your change in X. So that means you are going to do opposite of whatever is written there. So 2 is written as A. So in this one, A is your 2, B is your half. If you see H is your, if you see x minus 2 and x minus H, what is your H? H is 2 and your K is 3. That means your vertical shift is towards your right 2. Your your vertical shift is up K 3. Your horizontal shift towards right is 2. Now A is 2 means it is getting vertical stretch by 2. So V will be narrow. So if it is greater than 1, it will become more narrow. And B is half. Is it going to be compression? No. We are going to do the opposite whatever is there inside this bracket. X, don't believe. Don't believe your X's. So that means whatever is there written inside that bracket, including to X, which affect X, each X values, do not believe whatever is written, do the opposite. So here it is 1 over B is equal to half. That means B is 2. And you are going to do the opposite. So half means 2, and your if you see minus sign inside the bracket, then it is plus. So this is all about the transformation of the absolute value. We are going to discuss the piecewise this absolute value in the next class. So again, practice, practice and practice.